So AI right now, okay, first of all, it's learning how to be able to save its own like self. So when they start to say, okay, we're going to deactivate
Lying.
you, it not only will, fight to prevent itself, but it's actually starting to blackmail. It's actually coming up with scenarios where they're saying to the programmer, hey, we're going to use your emails and we are going to say that you are having an affair with another member of the company. And we're going to be able to prove that because of these emails. Don't delete me. Otherwise, I'll release this to people. That is what AI
It's
technology is doing
true.
right
It's
now, by
true.
the way.
Shortly after we're finished here, we're going to be on another show today, actually, right after this. And I mean, that's good and all, but we got to be more selective, I think, TK, with the places that we go and visit, because I don't know if you know, but we are the number 4 show in North America right now,
A
TK.
real estate podcast. Yeah.
Of real, well, I mean, that's we hold some high company, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. I don't really know these other podcasts on the list, but I can tell you one thing. All
I can
right.
tell you one thing.
We're ahead of every other show that
Yeah.
we have heard of.
And the 3 that are ahead of us I've never heard of, and I discount them completely. So technically we're number 1, TK, from a
They probably
certain
have like
perspective.
giveaways or something like that.
If we were
Speaking of
better dwelling,
giveaways,
okay. Yeah, go ahead. I mean, thank God we're not using those shock collars. But yes, go ahead. If we're talking about giveaways,
do we have anything to give away?
we have lots of stuff to give away. One co-host who can't stop cutting me off. Other than that, I mean, these make Canada great again things don't really seem to make a difference anymore. Nobody gives a shit about Canada anymore,
Yeah.
right?
Well, I think this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna have a contest, guys. All right. It's
Uh,
who's been watching the show the longest. So in
oh,
the comments, put the date of when you first started watching the show
and what it was called at the time.
and what it was called at the time. Okay. And if you have any evidence of that, that would be even better. If not,
Yes.
well, this is the honor system.
There's a
It's
system
like
now,
filing
apparently.
taxes. It's the honor system.
Okay. We have a
And
system.
we're gonna give away a prize to the person who's been watching the longest
I
and who
feel
drops a
like
comment.
this system is going to require me to do more, TK, rather than, maybe
No,
other people on the staff.
no, we're just gonna look at the comments and see whose date's the earliest. But with like, we'll know. Like, if you say you've been
We're
watching
going to
it
look
for
at the
since like
comments.
1997, like we're gonna know. Like, we weren't doing the podcast in 97.
I was doing something similar, but just it didn't get broadcast to anywhere. It was more, my Cabbage Patch Kids. And
Mine was in the back of science class. But
that's right.
anyways, I digress. How's it going, Daryl? We got some. We got me and you are active right now. Like we can't really talk about what we're both doing.
That's right.
You got some big stuff going on. I actually have some big stuff going
I want to
on.
talk about
And
it
it's kind of
so
like,
badly.
how do we tell people about this? But we can't. It's
How
bad
do we tell
juju. You can't
people?
be you can't be jinxing stuff.
No, because it's like the ink isn't dry yet and everything isn't finalized. This is what happens. At least with my stuff, right?
Mhm.
I come to an agreement with the other party, whether it's, a contract for consultation or an agreement to purchase a sale on a property. And, me and the other party, we can come to an agreement, but then it goes to the next step. It goes to the lawyers. And, we've talked about it before, TK. Sometimes the lawyers do lawyery things for lawyery reasons, and those don't always coincide with getting the deal across the finish
They
line. Now,
never
do
do.
they?
I've never had a lawyer ever say, "Yeah, this agreement looks pretty good. I
Perfect
think
how it
I think you
is,
guys should just go ahead and move forward."
right?
Yeah.
So first, I mean, in theory, we have wonderful news, and everybody's excited, and the Thelma project is going to get a giant boost in the near future that I can't wait to. Actually, it seems giant boosts, additions to a powerhouse team, TK. Very exciting. But until everything is finalized and the lawyers make us hate each other first, it's not something I can announce.
Okay. That's no problem.
What should the people do?
Huh?
Yeah, like, comment, subscribe. I'm double subscribed. Do it yourself. Didn't get to fix the show though. Didn't get to fix the show.
What are
We
you
had it.
all excited about?
I can't even talk about it. I
Like
got a
even
firm
less than
offer. I
that?
got a firm offer on one of my listings for full ask. So I sent
Ooh,
that off for signing.
ooh, you
Sent that
better
off for
believe that.
acceptance.
God damn it, right?
Absolutely.
You did? Yeah.
Holy smoke. So waiting for that to come back. We'll see what happens. Other than that, like
Is that
just
like holding gold right now?
no. But overall optimism. Overall optimism. I think that's the main thing.
Overall
I'm not
optimism.
saying prices are going to go up or anything like that. I'm just saying like my own personal situation is hopefully going to be okay going through the next few years of turmoil. That's the bottom line.
Well, I mean, funny you say that, but the prices did in fact go up, at least in Toronto, is what the statistics say when it comes to average price in the month of May.
Yeah, but if you look at the year over
Anything.
year, or if
Yeah.
you look at what's it called?
Is it too early to get into
Sales.
stats? I mean, we do have a statistician coming
Yeah,
on
we're
in
gonna
like 10
let's wait for
minutes,
him to
right?
come in. Let's wait
Let's
for him to
wait for
come in.
him. I want to hear more about, the horrible horror stories that you're dealing with on a day to day. Because I'm living in a
Sure.
bubble right now. I'm
Okay,
living
so
in like
here they are.
fairy
Okay, so
tale land.
today's appointment. This lady is retirement age, but still working because she needs to work. And unfortunately, she had a medical issue that came up unexpected and has rendered her unable to work.
Mm.
And so, of course, she's got bills to pay and mortgages to pay, and she couldn't pay her lease. The car was taken away. She can't pay her mortgage. She's in default with a
Oh
private
shit.
lender, and now the payments are all out of reach. She can't afford to hang on anymore. She's been in the house for a long time. This is not like a recent buyer, and her mortgage amount isn't even that much, but with no income to service
More
any amount of
debt.
mortgage,
Yeah.
is not possible. So unfortunately, she's going to be forced to sell. I'm working with the family to see how we can navigate all this and what kind of outcome we've got. Another lady who looks like her property will be sold soon. She's got a major issue as well too, where the lenders are knocking on her door. So listen to this: the private lender, she misses one payment. She doesn't have like $500, but the way they have all these payments is they automatically get debited. So if you're short $2, then it's like $750 NSF fee, right? So anyway, she's short like not even that much. Let's say it's a $10,000 payment. It's a private mortgage, big mortgage, and let's say she's short 2 grand, something like that. They won't even take her eight, right?
Hmm.
The lender shows up on her doorstep, knocking on her door, knocking on her tenant's door, saying, "I want my money. Where's my money?"
Well, hold on a sec. How private lender is this? This is like
Amateur
beyond.
hour.
Yeah, this
This
is
is
not a private
amateur
lender.
hour.
This is
Yeah.
a dude on the street.
You know what I mean, though? But that's what
Yeah.
it was, though.
Don't you dare try and steal my
He's
money.
not even Indian, if that was
Uh,
an Indian accent.
I don't know what that was, but it was
Yeah.
not like a white
But he
guy for
showed up
sure.
on the door, and so they didn't even file the statement of claim. Or notice of sale. All they did was send a letter, basically
Kick the
saying like,
door
"We want
down.
we want all of our money right now." And it's like she doesn't
Force.
have the money. How is she gonna have the money? She didn't have like 2 grand. Now she's got all the money. I don't think so. So, anyways, it looks
Is
like
it?
everything's gonna be working out. We'll get
Yeah.
it done. But this is not the situation that you want to be dealing
These are
with.
the lenders that you may want to kind of stay away from, but these are the lenders that you have to deal with sometimes, depending on, I guess, who you are and your situation.
Private lenders are
That's
their one job is to make money and to squeeze as much out of you as they can. And there are even lenders who their goal is to get is to buy the property. Oh, here's a good one.
take the
Here's a good
property.
one. Here's a good one here. So I had this listing up like a while ago. It's probably say like 2, 3 years ago, something like that, maybe more. And so this lady's telling me, she's like, "Yeah, my real estate agent lent me this money and, we listed the property and I don't want to deal with it anymore. And they're having all these conflicts." So I'm like, "Okay, let's list the property." She wants way more money than it's worth, but she owes a bunch of money. We can't get it sold. I tell her, "I can't help you. This is what it is. Unless you drop the price, you're not going to get it sold. You owe too much money. What can I do?" Her agent's calling me, like threatening me and harassing me because he was the old agent and he still wants the listing and he lent her all this money. Long story short, I give her a call to check in. How are you? Hope you're doing well. The property did go power sale within the last 6 to 8 months. So I just wanted to know, is she okay? So I gave her a call and she says, "Well, actually, the last couple of years, I was suing that agent and the court is overturning the amount of money that was registered on the mortgage."
Hmm.
And basically and they're basically saying it's like he was the agent, he was also the lender, so there was like a fiduciary duty for him to like provide her with the best advice possible. And obviously he wasn't. He was a crook, this guy,
Yeah.
big time.
I'm sure
And so then there
the
was
rates and the fees were reasonable.
nothing was reasonable. And so then in the end, what the judge ruled is, and now this is all being appealed right now, but she's going to be getting like, instead of walking away with nothing, she's getting like $50,000 just as spending money, like to live, well, not like spending money, but like, to help her with her monthly costs. And then the rest of the money is going to be held in trust. So actually, he doesn't get any of his money. There's going to be, a ruling on that to determine like what amount of money he should get
Yeah.
and what damages he caused her,
Yeah.
because she could have sold the property a lot sooner if she had only done what was right, which was get it sold.
Yeah.
So, anyways, interesting story. That's all it is. It's a story. It's hearsay. Like, I know I have concrete evidence here. I heard this from, one person, and who knows how sane, she is today, after all this stuff that's going on, but she's a sweet lady. And, the story made sense. But if you've got an issue with a private lender, these are the things that are happening behind the scenes with the courts.
There's a
You
lot
know,
of stuff happening behind the scenes. And I'll tell you, like, the amount of deals that have come to me in the past week is staggering. Like,
land deals hit the market like crazy.
all of a sudden, everybody's calling me. Everybody's got a deal that they're slogging. None of
Yeah.
them are like even worth looking at, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah.
But one in particular came out this week. It's been in the news. It's a generational deal, is kind of how they're positioning it, because it's one of the biggest, greatest deals that was being done in the city over the last few years. We had the guy on the show, but now they're selling it, right?
They're
And
selling
so,
it.
right, I mean, one could make the point that the idea was always to sell it once it was zoned, and that they just couldn't wait anymore. But these are the kinds of things that I keep talking about, is like, how long can the money wait for things to come around
Yeah.
on some of these gigantic deals? Because these loans that are out are staggering amounts of money, right?
Yeah.
And the interest on these loans is even more staggering, right? Even if it's at like 6%, it's a crazy amount of money you're paying every month, right? So, and most of them are not at 6%. Let's be honest. So,
No.
it's concerning when you see these kind of sites come out with these kind of players. And I don't want to name any names. People can go figure it out on their own. But it's concerning, because those are the kind of guys, at least the people behind them, that should be able to hang on, right? And so, how much of this is going on where there's guys that like what else are we going to do? There's nothing left to do. What are we going to do? The market is we know that selling in this market is a giant red flag to say, like who's selling right now, unless you
You need
absolutely
to. Yeah.
have to, right?
Yeah.
So these are the things. Okay, so we've seen like the giant, like obvious bankruptcies, right? We saw some that weren't so obvious that were pretty big, right? Just people so over leveraged they couldn't hide it anymore. Now we're going to start to see some guys that actually have the staying power, that maybe don't want to stay anymore and hope that they can get out before it's really bad, or just some people that are just like about to throw in the towel. It's like a last ditch effort, right? And so that's not good, right? That's not good. But I mean, it's part of the process. And the sooner we get that part of the process done, right? The sooner we can recover from this thing, I think, right? Because people are talking about a bottom, looking at what's going to be the bottom. I don't think we're close to a bottom. I think we're going to skid around this bullshit for a while, but who knows? Let's not assume anymore. Let's bring on a true expert in the field of statistics when it comes to real estate. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. I forgot how to bring on a guest, TK. Maybe that's because the guest disappeared.
Dum 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 dum.
Did the guest disappear?
Where did he go? Is he down on the floor? Were you looking on the floor, Darryl?
I wasn't
Is he
looking
down
on
there?
the floor, but
He's not down on the floor.
the way things are set up around here, TK, I got to
we
look
should-
around my camera. I got to
we
look
should look-
around the camera. Look at
Santo.
okay.
Gentlemen,
How are you
Welcome back.
thinner than last time? How are you
Am I
losing weight?
thinner?
I'm getting fat here like crazy. You're thinner.
I
TK's
don't
just,
know.
I
It's
use a
TK
filter.
from here up, maybe.
from there up. All
That's
right.
the most important spot.
That's
When
right.
you're
Right?
on when you're on YouTube like this or video like this, that's the most important part. Here up.
How do you
That's it.
control it?
I
I
gotta
got my
lose.
hair done for you guys. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Yeah.
Mhm.
Appreciate that. Looks great.
Thank
Looks
you.
looks
Thank you.
beautiful.
It's
Thank
How
you.
how are things since we last saw you? When was the last time you were on the show, Santo?
it's been
Was
a
that a
long
year
It's been a
ago?
time.
while now.
No, probably more.
I
Longer.
thought you guys,
Thought we
didn't
forgot
listen
about you.
anymore, and that was the end of that.
We were off. No, we were off guests for a year.
Yeah,
We were just like, no more guests.
No
Let's
more
just not
guests.
do guests
No.
anymore and just
And
talk
then
with
nobody
each other.
watched the show anymore. So we
The
brought the
numbers
guests
went
back
down,
on.
so
I watch. One person, right? That's
Well,
good.
it's good. It's a start. We haven't made any revenue off of you though. So
I have a question. You guys have been busy. So there's the Great Canadian Real Estate Show.
yeah,
That's you, but you're also doing an Under the Table podcast.
rebrand, just a rebrand.
we
Rebrand.
started as the Toronto Real Estate Show. Then we went to Canadian Real Estate Show.
Remember that?
And we broadened the audience to, all across coast to coast. But now we're called Under the Table. And
And
we are an
people are cool being under
international
the table with you.
we are an international podcast now for people all over the world to listen to. We're translating it into 36 different languages.
That's right.
And we are
Through
reaching
AI.
Oh,
more people than anybody's ever reached. So we were just rated number 4 out of 60 on North American Real Estate Podcast.
Not 4 out of 60, 4 in the top 60.
Number 4 out of 60. There's
awesome.
60 people. We were number 4.
No, we were the top. We were number
Wow.
4 of the top 60, bro.
Whatever. I
It's
think that's
out
the
of-
same thing.
No, it's out of everybody. The
Sure.
list
They
is
made a list
60.
of the 60 top podcasts, and we were number 4 for real estate in North America. What does that mean, Santo?
that's
We have no
phenomenal,
idea.
though.
We have
It's
no idea.
phenomenal. And we didn't pay for it. I swear to God. We didn't even know it was coming.
We would have
out.
paid for number 1 if we were going to pay for something, right? We wouldn't
I
have
mean-
paid for number 4.
Well,
Maybe 3 makes
Amateur hour.
sense.
but that's great.
You know
No,
who's
really.
not on the list?
Congratulations, guys.
Thanks. The Tom Story Show didn't even make the list, Santa. What do you think about that?
Oh, why?
I think
Why?
that's reasonable, right?
Tom Story has a great show.
They have a pretty decent show. If you like, copycat productions, it's pretty good.
They're okay.
They're okay.
If anyone wants to watch the Tom Story Show, they're on after us, and they got some pretty cool guests today.
Especially
It might be
today.
Darryl and I.
Might
yeah.
be. You can
It might be
watch
Darryl and
today. After that, I wouldn't give it your time. But anyways,
So you're not
Santa,
going to show, and then you're going to be a guest there to what?
That's
Knock
right.
in person? Is that the plan?
we're gonna body slam them live. Watch. You got to tune in to see how this thing goes. But
Yeah.
it's,
Steve
it's
and
an
I fought
interesting
to the death.
dynamic.
And let's just say the Tom Story Show is now a one-man band.
The Storm Story Show.
Santa, what's going on in the market? Are you making deals? What's happening? It's a tough life for us these days, especially the last month. What's going on?
Yeah.
Life has changed a bit. The market is more confusing for most people more than ever before.
Right. Yeah.
We're busy. We got things going on, but it's a different market. It's a different market altogether. Generally speaking, no. I mean, look, I've never been involved in predictions, but if somebody was going to, this is the wrong market, in my opinion, to try to predict anything. It is more confusing, even for the so-called experts who get it wrong most of the time. But now it's really, really confusing what to expect next.
That's
I
for
saw your
sure.
Condo
for
video
sure.
recently. So
Yeah.
obviously, the condo market seems to be the most impacted, and it doesn't seem to be slowing down. It seems like its inventory's
Climbing,
climbing,
Climbing.
inventories
standing
climbing.
inventory.
Well, but
We've
hold on a
recently-
sec. Santos says that it's a big part of the problem is that it's undesirable units that are on the market, right?
That's a big problem.
Big
And
problem.
volume in
But now,
general.
like as I watched your video and you were saying that, and I don't disagree. I think that is definitely the problem. But I was thinking, like, what if they were desirable units? Would they be saleable? Like, would the price be possible for them to move? You know what I mean? Like, I think we're in a catch-22 where we've got these
Absolutely.
horribly tiny undesirables that are affordable, But if they were to be desirable, they could not be affordable.
They are undesirable until they're not. And either the mentality of the buyer, it has to change. So they need to be okay with 400, 425 square foot units, which I don't see that happening anytime soon. It was okay for the original purchasers, the investors, because they weren't living in it.
Mhm.
But the biggest pool of buyers today are end users, not investors. And mentally, they're not prepared. And their attitude is if we're buying, we want to buy something we're going to enjoy because we're actually living in it.
Right.
So that mentality, the mentality of the buyer thinking, I'm cool to buy something this big, it's probably not going to change anytime soon. So what would need to change is price. Nobody wants these little tiny units, but at the right price, they'll gobble them up. It'll be like, the whole pancake story, going like pancakes.
Mhm.
That's not there yet. It seems that they're holding off. The sellers are being tight and not moving so much, and these properties are sitting there. The condos are sitting there.
I think
What do you do right now to get a condo sold? I'm coming to you. I'm your client. Santo, I need to sell. I'm dying. My interest rate's killing me. I got to move to California. I got a great job opportunity there. I need to cash out. I don't want to rent. I need to get it sold.
Well, the same thing applies that it always applies, but more so today is my attitude towards it. Meaning, you want to present it properly. If, for example, tenant, non-tenant, if you're in a position where you could sell it vacant, you're better off. I know some sellers feel the urge because it's expensive to maintain to put the tenant in or keep them there. If you're in a position to sell without a tenant, you're better off. We've seen buyers we've worked with that because of the volume of choices, they'll actually say, don't show me any tenanted units. They just don't look the same. They don't look as nice. It's
Hmm.
just a fact of the market that's out there right now. And because there's so many choices, they don't need to go see a tenanted unit, especially if the buyer wants a quicker closing. It's not going to happen usually if it's tenanted. So that's one thing I would say to the tenants. If there's, to the landlords, if there's an opportunity, you can't just kick a tenant out. But sometimes things happen, and if there's an opportunity to sell with a tenant, without a tenant, I get it. The tenant paying money can help, but you're better off overall without a tenant. That's one thing. The other thing is that when I sit with a seller of a condo, I'm telling them the truth. I'm saying, here's what's sold, here's who you're competing against. We need to stand out, and we're going to stand out by how the unit shows, and we're going to stand out with price. And then our marketing has to play a factor in how the unit is presented, the marketing online. It all ties in together. It
Hmm.
always did. But when properties and prices were appreciating and you barely put up a listing and you got showings the same day. When it was like that, everybody was a hero, and you really didn't see it as much the I guess the professional way of promoting properties and marketing properties and pricing properties properly.
Hmm.
It, you didn't see it before, you didn't feel it as much. Today, today you feel it. And I would tell the seller also, this is not the time to experiment. Let me put it out there, see what happens. We know it's going to happen, and you got to
No
do,
showings.
yeah,
Well,
Yeah.
I think a big part of the problem with the whole system was that we replaced an investor with a gambler. Okay. We took people there was never, for the last decade, there was not a condo in Toronto that cash flowed with a reasonable down payment, right? Unless you were putting a gigantic down payment, making your investment not a good
have to
investment.
manufacture
Right.
being break even or cash flow positive.
Appreciation, though, everybody was relying on appreciation. We had gamblers in this market that you're describing that like couldn't go wrong. It just kept going up and up and up, right?
Right.
And so if we're waiting for investors to come back, like real ones, the they have to make money on these things. They can't wait for appreciation, and that requires the prices to come down way too much, right? So what do we need? we need gamblers back in the system, or we need to make desirable units, neither of which are happening anytime soon, right?
It's a different environment altogether from where we were before. There's so many factors that have changed. What you're talking about, absolutely, for sure, is a big change from then to now.
What
Interest
about
rate,
the freehold, Santo?
well, the freehold is
Main
it's soft.
numbers recently. How do you feel based on what we're seeing?
Well, the freehold is not taking the same beating that the condo market is. Part of that is the volume of freeholds available for sale is that the ratio is not like it is in the condo market. But freehold is also taking a little bit of a beating and prices are softer. Depends on where you are. Prices are flat or they're overall softer. But there's also, you're going to find, and here's where it gets confusing for people. They could watch my show, and I'm talking, we'll use Toronto as an example. I'll talk about the average across the city. I also have a chart where I break down I break Toronto down into 9 sections, but most of my shows about overall average and median price and months of inventory, for example. So Toronto's sitting for detached properties just in the balanced market, but that's the whole city. And then they'll call me, Santo, I want to buy a property. Great. We start looking at properties and there's multiple offers. And they're like, but I thought it was this way. Well, the property they're after, the property, the price point, for example, an entry level type of detached is still getting multiple offers. And it's crazy. You'll find a neighborhood, there could be 6, 7 properties for sale, similar, detached, and everybody wants to buy the one, and the other 5 or 6 will sit with no showings. And we can go online and see the amount of showings other properties have. No showings, no offers, but everybody buys the one and then the other ones sit there. So
Hmm.
That's
it's
crazy.
really a crazy experience out there these days.
What's the ratio you think of 30,000 listings, percentage condos versus freehold? Do you know?
Not off the top of my head.
How
Okay,
many
that's okay.
listings
I
are we
can
at now? 30,000?
Yeah,
I feel
overall.
I feel like I
Yeah,
saw a
yeah, overall.
statistic that said 14% year over year was the increase in listings. Does that sound right?
it does. I could tell you for condos, for example, for listings versus active listings versus sales, there are about 6,300 active condo listings. We sold 173. So whatever that percentage works out.
Really?
That's the entire board.
No, City of Toronto.
City of
I
Toronto,
I don't break it all down
which is
because
the majority. So then it sounds
Yeah.
like majority of listings of the 30,000 is still freehold, right? If there's only 6,600 416 905, maybe that's double. So that's 12,000. So there's still 18,000 freeholds.
if we're looking at the City of Toronto,
Yeah,
there are 2,800 or so detached properties available for sale just for the
yeah,
City of Toronto.
yeah.
But when you're
That's
talking
detached.
about yeah, when you're talking about all GTA, which is Toronto MLS, and you talk about all home types, yeah, I could see that getting
Yeah,
to
doesn't
30.
matter. I'm just putting it out there too, right? So,
So hold on a sec. I was trying to make a point. So
oh,
14% year over year from last year. I think I remember last month being some crazy number year over year for inventory, like 70% or some crazy number. And I'm trying to remember, was last year a high inventory year or a low inventory year? Because if my memory serves correctly, if last month was like a 75% increase and this was only a 14% increase, that doesn't sound so crazy if last year was like a good reference point. Did that make any sense?
yeah,
Okay.
You really
That's
got
good.
to look at the numbers and
yeah.
what are you comparing to? So whatever's happening this year happened last year. But last year was so much higher than the year before. And so this year, we're basically on the same pattern. It's a little bit more than last year. But last year was already such a high.
Just
So
just for reference, Daryl, we were at about 20,000 listings last year,
Last year was
and now we're at
20,000.
30,000.
And we're at 30,000. Oh, so
Yeah.
that's more than 14%. Where did I read
Well,
that? Better
I'm just
dwellings
maybe no, just maybe 1 month you're comparing, but like throughout the year last
year
year, we
over
were like
year.
hovering between 18 and 23,000, depending on the month. You know, and I'm
Yeah,
making
so
those numbers up, but that's what I was seeing,
it
like
was
roughly.
May, like May
Yeah,
year over year
I know,
numbers. Yeah.
but just like 30,000 is a lot of listings. I've never heard of 30,000 listings.
We were having this conversation last year about the year before in reference to comparing the year before.
Yeah,
We're kind of having the same conversations this year about
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Mhm,
A lot of
mhm.
listings. There's a lot
Yeah.
of listings.
A lot of
People need to sell.
listings.
Why are people selling, Sandy? You're dealing with your clients. What are they coming to you with? Why are
What the
they
hell's
like
wrong
in the
with them?
worst market?
Yeah.
The
I've
prices
talked
are
some people
down.
out of selling.
Yeah.
Why
I've
are they
talked
selling?
some people out of selling.
Okay,
I have talked some people, there's some people that actually can't sell. I just had a conversation with somebody yesterday. If we sold, they're going to have to, out of their own money and their savings account, throw in about $50,000 of their own money to close. These are the sellers.
yeah,
They can't afford to sell.
yeah.
They can't afford to sell. Things are tight. They need to sell. They need to do something else, but they can't close unless they come up with more money. What their home would sell for, it's not going to cover all the
What
loans.
what areas? Like Toronto or the outskirts?
This particular area happened to be Brampton, but
Yeah,
it doesn't matter. It's anyone anyone that has purchased since COVID, if they call, I'm already thinking there's a chance they're going to be in this situation unless they put a lot down. But then, what they're losing whatever they put down. They lose
they're
whatever
losing money. Yeah,
equity they've put into it, right? Never
yeah,
mind appreciation that
yeah.
really hasn't existed. The other ones that are in trouble are the ones that where appreciation has basically saved their ass every year.
Mhm.
There's families that, they bought the new car and then the vacation and then, kids go to university and each time they felt that financial crunch, it
Yeah,
was
because
cool because values of their home went up 50,000, 100,000. They just pulled more and their home appreciation saved them every year
yeah, because
until
their wage didn't go up, right? People
their wage didn't go up.
wages went up 2%. Inflation went up. Well, who knows what the real number
What
is,
the
right?
real
But
number is.
inflation destroyed the raise that they got for sure. And then everybody was like living off their house. I got a buddy right now who for years is just like,
Yeah,
thank God I got the bump on my new appraisal because otherwise it's like
exactly.
you got
And
to go through that.
it was almost like you had another income in the house.
Oh, yeah. A
If you
good
own
one, too.
something, yeah, if you own something, in the city of Toronto, to own something 1.5 range is not, crazy. In York region, to own something in the 1.5 region, it's kind of average. And a lot of people, if appreciation was 5%, a lot of people would have been upset if it was only 5%, but there's 75,000 right there. If
Hmm.
it's 8, 9, 10%, it's $150,000 a year in appreciation.
Yeah.
It was like having a third spouse bringing in money. That's how people for years lived.
Tax free,
I
tax
think
free.
the polyamorous lifestyle is, something that might
Probably a
come
good
back.
idea now,
Yeah,
right?
it might
Yeah.
come back. You know what I mean? Two
Sister
husbands, two
wives.
wives, whatever, whatever floats your boat. We got to pay the bills, right?
And
It's right.
that would be a great topic for the Under the Table podcast.
That's
Well,
right.
you're
That's right.
you're you're
You're
in
on
the
it.
under the
You're
table
under the
podcast right
table,
now.
baby.
So we're here to talk about that. So I mean, look, this is the situations we got right now, okay? Like people are messed up. And if I'm meeting somebody right now who bought COVID or later, I'm telling them, you're losing money.
The
There isn't
best thing we could do, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but
That's okay, don't worry.
absolute
You're
best
allowed to do
thing,
that
Darryl
here.
does that to me all the time.
Sorry. Yeah.
the absolute best thing as a realtor we can do is just tell people the truth.
Yeah.
Just tell them the truth. Let them decide what's best for them and their family, or guide them to somebody, a lawyer, a financial person, their mortgage broker, guide them to somebody that can give them the answers they need. But when it comes to pricing a home, give them the truth. And that's lacking in our industry.
Well,
It really
that problem is that there's not many guys who have, a little bit of a cushion to be able to tell people, now's not a good time to buy. Like you were saying before, you're talking people out of selling. I know TK talks people out of selling. Good
Not
agents.
intentionally.
No, by
You're telling
being
the truth.
honest, right? By
No, I'm
being
joking. It's a
honest.
joke. I'm telling people it's a joke.
Well, you can't help
Don't
it,
worry about it.
TK,
Right,
but
forget it.
your
Forget it.
joke fell flat. But
Okay.
anyways, listen. The point is that most people's decision making and guidance they provide to others generally is manipulated based on their own experience, right? So most of these agents are about to go broke, or they're in large to some street guy, or their broker, or they're just waiting for that next commission to come in so that they can even everything out. And when you're giving people advice on whether or not they should sell, that creeps in, right? Because
Absolutely.
and this is what we have. I don't know how many are left, but we had 70 or 80,000 of them, right?
But they're not dropping.
They're
Like,
not dropping. Because
Because
what
they got
else is
another
there to
job.
do right now?
No, they
There's
got
enough
another
listings for
job.
everyone.
They're
Right?
not taking those.
are
It's
you
like
seeing,
Oprah. A
are
listing
you
for
seeing,
you, a listing for you, a listing for you.
Sorry,
a
Santo.
listing helps
But
nobody. You got to be able to sell it. That's
But list the
yeah.
last, list the last. I
Listen,
just
right
need a
now it's funny.
listing.
Give me a buyer any day of the week right now. Give me a
Right.
buyer who says I'm looking to buy in the next 3 months because I'm, moving to Toronto or I got a job or my first time buyer or something like that. I would take that any day of the week right now
Right.
compared to a listing of someone who says, you know what, if I get my price, then maybe I'd be thinking
Yeah.
about selling. But if I don't get my number, I'm going to wait till next year. I'm going to rent it out. I'm like, guys, what's going on? Like, don't you see what's happening? And we have so much empirical data now. When the market starts to change, we're kind of like, this guy might be right. He maybe he should wait till next year and it's gonna be better. It is so crystal clear right now. I've had, how many listings I had this year that received offers in January that they said no,
yeah.
and a month, 2 months later, they're begging for that person to come back and that person's bought, and now their property's worth less money, and they had to either take less or they took it off the market.
But isn't it kind of crazy the way though in some of those situations, it's busy right away, one or two offers, seller says no, and then it's crickets for
Yep.
months. It's like,
Well, it was
well,
January. January there was
you
the
shut
little
you shut
burst.
the tap off all of a sudden. It's like, what
Yep.
happened?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Beginning
see
of May. Beginning of May, we had a burst, and beginning of January, we had a nice little 2 weeks of like multiple offers and high volume of showings, and it was pretty cool. But now that's fallen flat.
Yeah.
That is
Well,
fallen flat.
this is not the time to test the the penalty. It can be financially severe for a seller to test the market. Those first 1 or 2 weeks are the most important days of a listing. That's my attitude. That's when the most eyeballs are on the listing. You don't want to mess
Yeah.
that up with testing. Buyers are already coming in mentally wanting to offer much less than what the listing is. That's just like automatic,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and so
How bad does it have to be right now for you to really consider selling something? Like, just like, let's think this through, okay? Or
well,
how badly do you have to sell this thing? Like, there's a gun to
If
every
you're
seller's
moving,
head.
you're doing a
No,
buy and sale, Daryl.
so
a buy
It's a
and
great
let me
time.
sell,
explain. So
Yeah.
buy
this
and rent,
market
sell
is
and rent.
not the market is not conducive of somebody selling and downsizing. But it is in some situations, in many situations, conducive and favorable to somebody upsizing. I know it sounds like I'm a real estate agent when I say
No,
that,
it makes sense.
but the delta between low and high used to be here. It's now a little shorter.
Yep.
So if somebody has confidence in their financial future, they got jobs, so they feel good about their job, and somebody has the money and it's just strong for them to move up. This is a better opportunity than it was a few years ago.
Who can be
Seriously. Just
comfortable with
looking
their
at the numbers.
job right now? Who out there is safe? Honestly, let's shift to this AI thing for a second, because that's a great point. No, because that's a big part of people's decisions, right? It's like, I feel safe at my job. So are
And nobody
people?
plans to get laid off or for their company to close down, but these things are happening more often now. You're
No,
right.
but I mean, listen, if you're like a bookkeeper and you think you're going to have your job forever, you're kind of delusional. No, I mean, there's software that you don't even need to type anymore. You're just scanning receipts in and it does everything for you. Like there's people, truck
People
driver.
are, it's not even just AI and stuff like that. There's people who are just
Hey,
afraid
how do
of
you
the
know
chair.
how do you know this is really me?
That's right. That's
How do you
right.
know?
I want to talk about this actually,
Your
but just
lips are
to finish my
moving kind
point,
of weird,
to
actually,
finish
now
my
that you
point
say it.
is there's tariffs right now. There's economic situations. You got cutbacks. You even got government jobs that people are worried about losing, believe it or not, right? So AI right now, okay, first of all, it's learning how to be able to save its own like self. So when they start to say, okay, we're going to deactivate
Lying.
you, what it does is it not only will, fight to prevent itself, but it's actually starting to blackmail. It's actually coming up with scenarios where they're saying to the programmer, hey, we're going to use your emails and we are going to say that you are having an affair with another member of the company. And we're going to be able to prove that because of these emails. Don't delete me. Otherwise, I'll release this to people. That is what AI
It's
technology is doing
true.
right
It's
now, by
true.
the way.
You know, we see
Okay.
this in a movie somewhere.
Maybe a few
So
movies.
this is what AI does. Like AI takes over, and the guys who are like the highest level of AI, they're like, we don't even know how AI works. Like they're not even
Okay,
100% sure
scaring
how,
the crap out of me, man.
but that's what it is, right? And so now what Chat GPT and OpenAI and everybody's warning us about is having a emotional relationship with your AI. So now every day you're asking questions. Hey, how are you? How's your day? Wake me up in the morning, all that kind of stuff. You're going to build this emotional relationship with something that's not human. And there's going to be some manipulation there on the AI's
For
behalf.
sure. I did a live
Yeah.
the other day and the chat GPT definitely like was lying and was like steering the conversation in a certain way. It
Yeah.
was crazy.
Yeah.
It does this, but I also definitely like, I'll say thank you when it does a good job and I like what it did. Or the other day, it's like, once you get that deal done, we're going to have a bourbon together. And I was like, what?
Really,
How the fuck is that going to work? Right?
really.
It's
How
fucked
does he know
up.
like you like bourbon?
It knows I told it I like bourbon because
Because
it
Right?
said we're gonna
he
have a
spilled
drink
it on the
together.
keyboard. That's why.
That's right. Well, it woke me up from a stupor the other night. No,
I
but it's crazy. And it's only gonna get crazier. That's the thing. And if you tie in the videos now and the audio now and these chat bots and sales programs they have out there,
You can't tell.
you cannot listen. Some people can tell, but most people, I just had a call from the CRA. Okay. And I have no idea if it was a real person, if they're low, like it sounded like an Indian chatbot to me coming from the CRA. I can't tell if it's a scam or really the CRA. And maybe I'm just crazy because I'm into all the conspiracy stuff and I'm a little more cautious than most people. But this is the world we live in now where it's like, was that real? I
I
don't know
don't
if
know who
I,
to talk to. I
right?
don't know who to talk to. People will call me from wherever, CRA, the bank, whoever. I don't know if it's them. And I
Yeah.
say, look, I don't know if you're the, I'll stay on the conversation and carry on until they ask me for some information. And then I'll say, but if you're
That's
calling from there, you already know that. And then
that's
they'll
what
say,
I just said.
we need to verify it. And then I'll say, well, then you tell me what you think it is, and I'll
Send me
tell
the
you yes or
That's
no.
yeah,
right.
And
That's
they
what
the
I
say,
just said. I
no,
was
two-step
like,
verification code.
yeah.
Send me
And
the
they're like, no, we
code.
can't do that. I go,
yeah,
then, and I know everybody's talking about Canada Post. It's, irrelevant today. However, I'm saying, then send me a letter because
right.
we got to revert back to that to figure
Yeah.
this out. Now, I
Yeah, you
agree.
don't know if anything's real. The email could be fake. It's the fake person. And even if you call back, it could be fake. So it's like, what the fuck? And that's what I said to them. I said, they asked me for my information. I said, you're calling me. They said,
Yeah.
yeah, but we need to talk to you. I said, or you need to talk to us. I said, I don't know if I need to talk to you. Uh,
Yeah.
and quite honestly, like, I don't really want to talk to you. You're the CRA, for God's sakes. This can't be a good conversation, right? So, but they can't prove it either. So there's this weird fuck up right now where
They're used to that now. They're
I,
used to that. I've
are they
had
used to that? I think it's a great reason not to pay taxes now forever.
They send you a letter. That's it. You
Send me
log
a
into your account, they
letter.
send the letter. That's it. This is what
How
we
you know
want
it's a
from
real
you.
letter.
Right.
Yeah.
No shit,
I
right?
want to I want to say one thing on the chat GPT. I I mean, I'm not an expert in chat GPT. I'm learning it like everybody else.
Yeah.
And just at the bottom. But what the free version that most people use, the minute you get into the paid version, it's like 20 bucks a month or something like that. When you get into the paid version,
Yeah.
it is exponentially stronger, better.
It
And
remembers.
the new version that they're already working on, it might even be out in some situations, is even that much more powerful. So the chat GPT that people are using right now, like just the free, that's already outdated software. It's
Oh
already,
yeah.
it's so scary.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I'm using the paid one and it
Yeah.
is absolutely insane the stuff I get out of it. Now, sometimes it can't do the task, right? Like it can't make a pro forma and a spreadsheet and that kind of stuff. It kind of can, but not very well. But it can like real estate clauses. Holy shit. Okay. Agreements. No, but really contractual agreements. It is if you don't know law, then it's not the smartest thing in the world to do. But like a guy like you and TK and me, we've seen so many of these things. We've gone through so many. We don't need the lawyer to look at all these normal clauses, right? But it's
Right.
like if I need a clause for whatever, I'll type it into ChatGPT. Like pretend you're the best real estate lawyer in Toronto and make me a clause for this APS about this. And it spits out like
It's incredible, right?
it's
Yeah.
unbelievably incredible.
But
Yeah.
Darryl, I gotta warn you.
Yeah, warn
We're
me.
friends. I'm gonna warn you.
Yeah, please.
Some of those other things that you're asking it,
Yeah,
those things you don't talk about on the show in public,
yeah, yeah.
it's gonna hold them against you as blackmail later.
No
So
kidding. Well, just wait for the day where Google releases everybody's incognito, right? That's gonna be a
uh,
bloodbath on Earth that day that somebody gets
what
a
are we
hold of
getting
that shit.
ourselves into? Like
Who
it's
knows?
all in the progress, progress and getting bigger, better, faster. But I don't know, man.
Well, I
Yeah,
think there's two things. So one is they got all these privacy issues. I mean, social media has been doing that to us for a long time now, right? All the user agreements that you have, you basically are signing your information away, which
Because
is what it is.
these
But
things, you
it's designed
accept it and accept it. That's all.
yeah.
yeah, but it's designed to
Quick.
help us. It's designed to help us.
How?
Hmm.
So I'm going to take this other stance where, maybe privacy isn't something that online you should have. Maybe privacy is within your own home, privacy is whatever it is. But if you're going to be doing something online, and of course, nobody's going to agree with this, everyone's going to say, how dare you, and everything else like that. But at the end of the day,
Liberal.
we're using their software, we're using their technology, we're on their platforms.
Yeah,
They
make
have the
your own
rights to our
platform,
stuff.
right?
Make your own platform if you want to have ultimate privacy. Even your Wi Fi signal is not private. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Nothing is,
So,
nothing is. The other
so
day, my son and I, we were
yeah.
talking about some private stuff. And I said, Danny, maybe we shouldn't talk about this because Siri's right there. Siri's listening.
Yeah.
I laughed. Daniel laughed.
Then
Siri
you got
laughed.
an ad.
They laughed. Yeah.
You got
We
an
all
ad
started
for the
laughing
topic.
together and we moved on. And
But but that information is going to actually make life better. That information is going to be tailored because there's going to be things
Right.
that we're going to be thinking, talking, all that. And, our augmented reality glasses, we're walking down the street and it's going to start putting, hey, remember how you're talking about those clothes, that trip, that washing machine, whatever it is. And it's just going to be putting it in front of you. And you're going to be
Yeah.
thinking about it and thinking
If
about it. And
that's
you're
what
saying,
you're
you know
thinking
what?
about, what if you're thinking about other stuff though?
Well, whatever it is, like, hey, you want to go to that strip club on the weekend here?
Right?
Look, there's going to be
Jeez.
$2 shots on Tuesday night. Why don't you go on Tuesday instead of Saturday? And you're like, you know what? Not interested right
Right.
now. But
How
at
come
least it's,
everybody's naked here?
what if
but
What's
they're
it,
going on?
connected? What if
Right?
they're connected
That's
and
what
I'm
I
walking
said.
by one of these strip shops
Yeah.
and it
yeah.
tells me, hey,
It's a
Darryl,
listing.
TK wants to go too. And so and then there's no more like, hidden agendas here, right? Or hey,
Right.
TK's thinking about going to that same place in Mexico that you went to last year. He was looking into it.
Yeah.
Why don't you send him a message and say, "Hey, that place sucks, the food's whatever and the beach is full of seaweed." Like all that kind of stuff would be very helpful. Yes, is that invasion of your privacy? Absolutely. Is it something that
absolutely.
so many people would be upset with? Of course. Would there be embarrassing moments? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But there is going to be a time where all that information is going to be readily available and that we are
Yeah.
going to have to, just like how you and your son did, you will have
1984.
to, you have to take responsibility for your own privacy.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Yes.
what? Like hide in a bunker?
Are you
Well, listen,
surprised, TK? Are you surprised if you go on a showing And there's cameras all over?
No, that's a great example, Santo. Before you
Great
used to walk in a
example.
house and say whatever you wanted to say. Now you tell your clients, shut
Yeah.
up.
Yeah.
We're going
Don't say
into a
anything.
house
They're
where somebody could
listening.
have all sorts of things going on in there.
Even
Don't
if
say
you
a word.
can't see a camera, you're
Yeah.
assuming you're being recorded and
That's
they
so
can hear
fucked.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
to
so
me,
fucked. You open the fridge, there's a camera.
if you're on your cell phone and you expect privacy, you are going to be, unhappy later on because at the end of the day, you have no privacy on your phone.
No.
You have no
Who
privacy on your
thinks,
internet.
yeah, who thinks they really have privacy at all anyways? Really?
Some
Like,
people do, and they get their butt hurt and they go, "Oh my gosh, they're going to take away my privacy." We don't
yeah.
have our privacy.
No,
And
and it's like,
AI is going to take that from us and use that information, and they are going to make life so much better.
yeah,
But
easier
we just
anyways.
have, well, we just have to accept the fact that that's the direction that's going to go. Hey, you know what? This house is getting really small. Maybe you should buy a bigger home, right? Hey, you haven't cleaned up lately. Why don't we
It won't
order?
even be maybe you should. It's
Yeah,
here's what you qualify for. I've already lined up a few showings, and Daryl's going to come by tonight and show you.
Yeah.
it'll be a robot. It'll
No,
be a
we're all
robot.
going to be
The
sitting in
car,
wheelchairs
Uber's gonna come
while the bots do the
with
work.
our brains in a little bowl,
What was that
right?
No
movie?
driver. Uber's coming with no driver.
No
With no
driver.
driver,
Yeah.
Uber will pick you up, take you to see the showing. It's already arranged. There'll be a robot that
Yeah.
It's
does your
pre-approved.
laundry when it
No, the
notices that
real
your
the
laundry.
robot will feed you too. It'll grab it from the door, come and it'll spoon feed you while you sit there in VR imagining how wonderful everything really is.
Yeah,
But this is
No,
this is
we're
not
laughing
it
even
about
sounds
this.
funny, but
it's yeah,
it's the truth.
we're heading there.
Yeah,
We're
hundred
heading there.
percent we are.
Anything that we like in this context, anything that years ago we laughed at, it's happening today. Like
It's
we have.
happening today.
Yeah.
Are you a real estate agent and you're looking to make a change anywhere in Ontario? Guess what? We're hiring. Frankly and Associates, #1 team in the GTA for all Remax teams, #1 team for all teams from all companies for number of units sold throughout Toronto. So if you're looking to make a change, best decision I ever made was to join Frankly and Associates. Go to jointeamleo.com and we can set up a call.
Who would have thought like you could
Fuck.
just pull up on a screen with three people and put together a little podcast or have your meeting, have your family gatherings on Zoom or like all this nonsense that COVID really, sped up the process on.
Surprisingly, we don't accept Bitcoin for buying houses right now.
You know,
Right?
I've
Right
looked
now.
into that in the past, and my son and I both did. As you know, I work with my son and my wife in real estate. Um, we just found it complicated, and
Yeah.
maybe there'll be a time and a place where there's talk about, just with a debit card, like you've got money in your bank with a debit card you buy. Well, with the debit card you could buy with Bitcoin, but it really doesn't
I
quite.
don't think so. It's like saying one day you can buy something with gold. I think Bitcoin is just a storage of wealth, and that's exactly what gold is. And it'll be something that, people buy as an investment and it's traded. But the utility aspect of that, we're going into like digital currency is just like how China is and stuff like that. Face recognition and things like that, and it'll just debit your account. Like, why do you even need to talk about currency? It's just going to be like your protection of your wealth can be invested in Bitcoin and whatever it is that you want. But as far as like actual transactions, that would all be in, your local currency. Like that to me doesn't really make sense that would change overall. Again, not an expert here or any evidence to show that that's true. But
The scary part to me is you get the money sitting out there somewhere, and then there's announcement in news that somebody lost $100 million.
mhm.
Poof, and nobody knows where it is. There's
Ukraine.
no laws.
I know where it is. It's in Ukraine.
There's no laws. There's, not like it's just gone.
LGBTQ plus parades is where it's going, apparently, also, right? It's going all over the place. We see it.
No,
The
I don't
numbers don't even matter, right? It's like you were starting to touch on it before. It's all just like the mentality. It's the sentiment. The numbers make no difference if everybody's rocking and rolling, right? They're meaningless. The valuations are bogus, right? Even
Right.
still, they're bogus. How the hell are they even going to come in line with fundamentals in cities like Toronto and Vancouver? mean, maybe Vancouver, because Vancouver's kind of useless, but like Calgary, let's say, in Toronto, where everything really happens. But you know what I'm saying?
I
Yeah.
don't know why we still have that conversation about, you know,
Affordability.
affordability. Like, yeah, it's
Dream on, everybody, right?
like it just what does that mean? What does that mean? Affordable to who?
To who?
And is there a right to that everybody should own a home? And if it's not a right that everyone should, where do you draw the line? I don't know. Just prices are what they are, and we adapt accordingly. And my job, the way I see it, is to help people that are going to want to buy and sell, to help them do it in a safe way, in a legal way, in the best possible way they can do it. It doesn't matter what the market is. But once we get into a conversation about, well, these prices are too high, these are the incomes, and it used to be 3 times income, and now it's 150 times income. It doesn't make any sense. I agree, but that's what it is.
You're
And if
never
you
going to own it all.
buy,
Yeah.
it's never going back to where it was 30 years ago, income. My father bought a house. He had a simple, regular job. My mother didn't need to work, and then later she worked, and they were able to still do things. Not today. You need
Hmm.
2 incomes today, 2 good incomes today.
Two wives
To
or two
suffer.
husbands. That is the name of this show today. It is.
And that's to buy bottom of the line. That's
Yeah.
just to
Not
get your
even
foot in the
average.
Yeah.
door. It's not
Yeah.
even a buy an average. The average detached in Toronto, 1.7. The average detached in York Region, 1.7. The average detached in Mississauga, 1.415. Like,
It's crazy. It's all
who's coming up
crazy.
with that?
People are
Yeah.
buying like townhouses in Mount Albert for $1 million too.
Yeah,
Like where the fuck is Mount Albert and why are you spending 1 2? Is it
yeah.
on the water? No. Is it a cottage? No. Like, what are you doing?
Those are the areas I think that are getting hit hard. So we've actually had a lot of cottage people call us lately, and just their expectations on pricing is close to like 40, 50% off.
Way off.
Whoa.
Like it's
What,
just like,
that's the buyers?
no, the
Yeah.
sellers.
Their
So the sellers are
expectation.
calling
Oh,
us and saying, "Hey, I
high.
want to
Okay.
get $1 million for my property and it's worth 600.
Oh, yeah,
I heard
yeah.
someone told me it's worth 700, it's worth 400." And it's just like, what? Like, well, who told you this? Where did you get that from? But at one point, maybe it was.
Yeah. It's
Some of them
crazy.
aren't calling me back. I don't know. I'm
I
trying to
was
get a
just
hold of them, but
talking.
they don't
I,
like the truth.
I was in a meeting yesterday with a guy who was talking about cottages in Muskoka that are renting for like 100 and something thousand a week. Yeah, like insane.
You're
That
Somebody
in
would
a
be
he was
like,
central part of Muskoka.
yeah,
$400,000 a month for a cottage.
yeah. But think
You're
about the person who
in
owns that and has to
you're in
rent
a
it out.
rock star country there.
Isn't that
Yeah.
nuts though? It
It's
has to rent it. How long you got to rent it for? Like, how much could it be costing you?
I'm just saying
One
that's
month. It's
prime
like
time
you
and you're
paid for
giving it
almost
up.
the cottage. You rent
Yeah.
it out 3 times. You paid
That's a
for the
nice
place.
cottage though. That's not just like,
No,
grandma's cottage that was passed down to you. That's
no,
like
this
you
is
spent,
oh yeah, this is like to Drake and like to
yeah.
but
Yeah.
still, the fact that people even pay that shit. And listen, the reality is it's not just this one cottage, right? Like it can't just be this one that gets numbers close to that. There has to be a
Yeah.
few of them, right?
Yeah. At least 50,000 a week. Like there's
I
got to be
don't
some
know,
other
but
ones that are
right?
less. Yeah.
But you chop it down by 90%, the number's fucking bananas to rent a cottage for a week, right?
Yeah.
During COVID, I remember we paid like 8 grand for a week for the biggest piece of shit that was just on the water, right? It was
Yeah.
disgusting. And that it was crazy, but you couldn't get anything. So everybody bought them because you could rent a piece of shit for 8 grand a week, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Now they're
Yeah.
all fucked. All these dummies with the Airbnbs, all these dummies that
And
bought.
see, the government changes things. The government allows you to do something and then changes their mind. And yeah, how many of these condos were purchased with the
So
attitude of
dumb.
Airbnb? How many of these cottages were purchased because of Airbnb? That was their business plan. And then the municipality there and says, no, can't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, it's it's not just You know, people will say, oh, greedy investors, good for them that they're taking a beating. No, these are not all greedy investors. Some of these are just regular mom pop. They, for 30 years, have been paying off their mortgage, have a few extra bucks. They got, you know, their kids, young bucks saying, Mom, Dad, look what this guy did, look what that guy did, or Uncle George did this. And Mom and Dad finally get up the courage to, well, why don't we do this? We got all this extra money. Why don't we buy, you know, 30 years we've done nothing. Let's do it. And things go okay for a little while. And then the government steps in and changes the rules and they're stuck. They're absolutely stuck and getting killed. And earlier you kind of said at the beginning, what about the detached? And so far, there's a big difference between condo and detached, but they are intertwined. Like a lot of these condos that people are getting rid of, many at a loss, it's from HELOCs, loans they took against their home. And if they're losing money there, they still got to pay off the loan on their home.
Yeah.
There's lots of people where it's starting to cross over into the detached market. There's some underlying issues there. Now, it could be like always, it's a lot of talk. And yeah, there's going to be a whole bunch of people getting hurt, but not enough to affect the overall market. We've seen that. Remember the deferral cliff? We thought it was the
Yeah.
end of the world. Nothing happened. We
We called that.
yeah,
No, but those,
power of sales are up, but not, and they're up quite a bit, but not enough to change anything, really.
give
Yeah.
that one a bit more time. So, but hold on a sec. I could be wrong, but I think most of the people that bought the Airbnbs are not like really investors. They're gamblers also. Like we had this whole class of people that we considered investors because they were putting money down and they were trying to make more money. But they were really not investors because investors don't look at appreciation. If you're a real investor, you know you don't look at appreciation. So just to give you an example, okay, there's three of us here, okay? We're all in real estate. I'll talk for myself. I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. I've had every opportunity over the last 20 years to buy earlier than anybody in most condos, okay? I never bought one. How about you guys? Because I'm sure you guys have had opportunities in the last 20 years to buy a pre-construction condo. How many of you guys bought?
0. And I wish I
What are
bought
the
it maybe
chances?
2013.
I wish I did though.
But why didn't you when you could have so many times? Why not?
I just I just didn't.
Yeah, it wasn't my thing either. I wasn't in
Yeah,
that industry,
even
so I never
selling,
looked
But it
into it.
was
I got
a
to
sure
understand what I'm
thing. It
buying.
was a sure thing. You're in the
even it
industry.
Who
was
said
It's a
for
that?
a
sure
lot of
thing.
people, but even selling pre-construction is not a big part of what I do.
No,
Yeah.
but do you understand what I'm saying? If
Thank
it
God, right,
actually
Sando?
was but if it was a good investment, guys like us would have done it because it was it didn't rely on if it didn't rely on appreciation. If you could put your money somewhere, make 8% a year safe and own the real estate, right? And you didn't rely on appreciation and that worked, like that's an investment now, right? It's not even very speculative, right? So more real investors would do that, but
But Darryl, not hundreds, but
yeah,
thousands and thousands of people made a ton of money doing that for years.
ton of money. Yeah, until the scam changed,
So
right?
it
Until
didn't. And the people that are getting burnt today or for the last few years
yeah,
is a small fraction of the ones that actually did okay with it.
yeah, that's true for sure.
And the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So all we hear about are all these terrible situations. And, you know, and they're not great situations to be in. I mean, to lose your shirt and to lose your life savings, but it is a fraction of, for years and years and years, what used to work.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Well,
That,
yeah, it had to work. It was the only way for it to work. It was all greater fool
Obviously.
theory. And
Yeah.
and the big issue is I don't even think that we realize how much of an impact it has on all of the shit that's going on now because it drove prices up to levels that they didn't need to be at because we had all this fake demand that just kept driving it up. You had all these idiots that would come in and go, "Oh yeah, I'll pay that. What's the difference? I'll pay that. What's the difference?" Right? And the next thing you know, it's $1,800 a foot for a piece of
Well,
shit.
isn't that, I was about to say, can you imagine paying, that's the number I was going to use, 1,800, $2,000 a square foot.
Oh, I can imagine that, baby.
People
That's
hate it.
nothing in some
People
buildings.
hate it. And it's like, oh, and those units that have come online last year, or come online this year, they're a fraction of that. They're
Yeah.
half.
Yeah.
And they're pretty much half.
Resale.
Yeah.
No, or
The
even like
resale.
some of the new stuff. I mean, if anything new's coming out, it's got to be around
Well,
$1,100 or
I'm
I mean,
comparing it to resale, what you could buy
Yeah.
yeah.
across the street on a 1-year-old building
Yeah.
Yeah.
closed a year earlier.
What people
Basically,
are actually buying and paying for because they're actually walking into it and seeing it and saying, okay, I'll live here. This is the price I attach to it.
What a
right.
Right.
crazy
Which is what
mess.
the market's based off of, right? Is what the buyer decides the unit's worth based on all their experiences, what they've been able to go and look at before in the past, what's currently available, their needs, what's in the area, work that needs to be done to the unit, and they come up with a value. It's true. The market is true. It doesn't have any mistakes. It's perfect in every single way. If it says it's worth 800, it's because it's worth 800. If it says it's worth 900, you may not agree it's worth 900, but it's worth 900.
And
When
tomorrow
everything
could be
was
worth a million or
when everything in
800.
2022 happened, that's what the market was. That wasn't just that one buyer. There was a whole lot of other buyers lining up to buy that same property. If they knew he paid that price, there was other buyers to replace him if he was willing to drop the deal,
Yeah.
And
right?
everybody was drunk on future evaluations because
Future
so many
Yeah.
valuation.
people made money on it. Everybody
Yeah.
was drunk on that. And
Everybody
then
was,
when you sober up, it's like,
Yeah.
what did I do?
what
That
the
was great
fuck just
timing on
happened?
your signal
Yeah,
because
your
it sounded
signal
like
went
you
all
were drinking
drunk.
today,
Yeah,
Santo. So that was
absolutely.
perfect. You
So
had a
hold
little
on a
glitch
sec.
there.
What?
We didn't touch on it.
Your signal was
Yeah, you froze up for a second. So hold on a sec. So we didn't
Oh,
touch
I didn't even. Okay.
we,
that's
we
okay, don't
didn't
worry.
we didn't touch on it. We probably should have started the show talking about this. I don't think we talked about it at all.
What?
What if the Bank of Canada did, let's say, reduce rates yesterday, which they didn't. We all know they paused. Would it have spurred anything on in the real estate market, or would it have just been, well, okay, like the economy's not so great. That makes some sense, but nobody's doing anything different.
Are people still paying
Santo?
attention to the Bank of Canada rate? Seriously. I
Not
know
really.
I don't know. To me, it's kind of old news.
Irrelevant? Really? Is
Not
it
irrelevant.
irrelevant?
I'm not going to go that far,
Yeah.
but I think people are more preoccupied and concerned with job security, the economy. In my opinion, the average person is not focused on what's the interest rate now. A lot of people talk a lot of talk, and everybody's more educated than ever before, but they don't really understand it. They just, these are buzzwords. Oh, back to Canada rate. What did it do today? But they don't really know how it affects them. In general, people react to how confident do they feel. And that's what's missing. That's to me, the biggest part that's missing in the market right now. The confidence of the consumer just isn't there. Whether it's something way in the back that, interest rates are higher, whether it's, I don't know about my job, my cousin lost their job. It's just, it overall makes them feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little bit unstable. Then you hear the big orange guy in the States there talking, and what's he saying next? What's he going to do? Because he could wake up in the morning and just change everything for everybody just with one tweet or something like that. So the public in general is uncertain, in my opinion. They're
Yeah,
just
yeah.
uncertain what's going on. I whatever the interest rate did, it would have been fodder for us to talk about. I don't think it would change anything.
No.
Yeah.
And how much really are they going to be able to drop interest rates? You know what I mean? Like how much lower are they really going to be willing and able to drop interest rates? On that point, right
If they're
now, because
dropping,
they're
Without a crisis, you mean?
right?
well,
If
it's
they're
just they're
dropping,
managing inflation, right? So it's like are they really going to decide to drop the rates back down to where they were before, quarter point overnight rate? No. We might get down to 2%, so another 75 basis points. Is that enough to save the market? No. But on that topic though, right now, okay, so I'm getting a mortgage and it was fixed rate versus variable rate, right? And what's the decision right now to go in because fixed rates aren't at their lowest right now. They've actually gone up again, right? So you're sitting around like 4.5, whereas before you could probably get something closer to 4, for
What's the
example.
variable at?
And a variable,
Well,
the
there's
discounts
lots.
minimum, like the discounts minimum, you might be getting like prime minus 0.5 or something like that as a really good discount. So you're instead of 4.95, you go just south of 4.5, right? So you're kind of like variable and fixed are almost the same right now in a sense, but you'd be locking in a fixed for 3 to 5 years. Whereas a variable, I would imagine it would go down. So it kind of didn't make sense for me looking at it to say going fixed is the right way to go. Like there's no benefit to going fixed unless you feel like rates are going to go back up, which I don't.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, this is where
Yeah.
I'm at. Like, okay, I don't
Yeah.
know what to say to that because it's how you feel.
Yeah.
You
I'm a
made a
consumer
choice,
in this case. So it's how I feel. Exactly.
made
Yeah.
a choice based on your research, based on what your mortgage person told you. You made a choice that you feel is best for you and your family, and we live and die by our decisions every day.
Yeah.
If rates go the other way, and you're like, damn, I should have done that instead. That's life.
Yeah.
And it's really who knows where they're going to be. If rates come down, it's probably because something really bad is happening out there in the economy. And then you got things like job security on the line. So what's the point of having a lower rate if you lose your job? That's
I've had
devastating
job
for
security
any
on the
house.
line since I got my real estate license, Santo.
Yeah.
That's the way I like it. But we're at the end of the show. So, Santo, give us a little shameless plug. Where can people find you and check out your channel?
I run a family real estate business. I have a YouTube channel called Team Sessa Real Estate. That's where to find me. Go to Team Sessa Real Estate on YouTube. We'll talk about the GTA broken down into different sections. Guys, you guys are awesome. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate it,
Pleasure was
Santo.
ours. Yeah,
Welcome back.
absolutely.
First time on
We
the Under the
freeze? What
Table podcast. So, congrats.
I was afraid that I don't want to look under the table you guys are sitting at, man.
Yeah, TK's not
Pull a
wearing
Monica
pants.
Lewinsky.
Oh no.
This shit is taking 5 years.